it made it obvious to me, and those that are running a higher state of awareness because they're running a higher speed radio frequency transmitter, right? And your antennas are picking up essentially all the data that you're collecting about the realm, if you will, that is communicating with us. Okay, so obviously we're an antenna and a transmitter. Okay, so it was obvious to me actually in childhood, and I had to figure out how they were doing this. An energy management system of communication to everybody that was here that was meant to harvest your energy, okay, and terminate the species, okay. And what became clear to me was they could wash their hands and say, they did it to themselves, okay, which isn't really true, is it? Because you have a cross section of beings that are here that aren't cut from the same genetic engineering, the same genetic engineers. That's why a lot of everything that they did, which can be measured in biofeedback genetically, okay, is to go in reverse evolution. Instead of higher evolution of consciousness, electrical density consciousness of what we experience, going towards the heavenly realm, going to higher density, was meant to go the opposite direction, in a lower density, because they represent lower density. They love their lower density. So they pervert everything, absolutely everything. That's why we call it a perversion of nature, and what is it? Self-indulgence. Okay. Go look at Pornhub. That's self-indulgence. Okay? I mean, when I look at a guy, for example, who's 348 pounds, somewhere in that neighborhood, and he's only about 23 years of age, what happened to you? That's an enormous acid waste storage bin. Okay? So you can sort of quantify and qualify the nature of sort of knowing what this particular being is going to experience in the future, huh? As a result of behavioral algorithms in which these beings are behaving in ways that do not serve them, because what they will then experience as a result of their own behavior is what? Well, for one, they're going to provide more electrons translated through currency into the cash registers of the medical community, one, okay? And of course, keeping the corporations alive that are providing the poison that he's putting in his body, number two, okay? And then, of course, he's going to experience all of the things that come along with it, whether it's diabetes, whether it's arthritis, whether it's heart problems, whether it's lung problems, the whole gamut, the whole range of medical issues as a result of being out of balance in a diseased state. Because the alkalizers of the body simply cannot keep up with an acid waste overload that's not being, I sort of see this in a different way, which is input-output, which is data input, data waste output. Okay, input-output experiences, right? So you're experiencing the data represents what you experience, thus it becomes a waste product and you get rid of it. So when you know how to keep your cellular communication platform, which is your software that you're using to communicate with everybody, in an alkaline state, then guess what? Chances are you're going to wake up every morning in a state of love and joy and you're ready to go create something of your own that you can share with others. So now we're into the creative side of things. So I watched a video last night put up by the Speak Project about creating a new reality. And this is one of the reasons why in the educational system, when I noticed it, when I examined it, and of course, if you go back to the what was known as the Teachers Training Education Act, you can go to ERIC, E-R-I-C, which is essentially the repository, an archive, basically a revolving archive, working archive of all the research that's being done in the learning community. What we're finding out. So naturally, one of the things that I looked at, that I was led to, because I was supposed to know it at the time I was supposed to know it, which is how we collect and experience the data, which is called bifurcation. Bifurcation of both sides of the brain. They don't want the creative imagination side of a child to be activated and used as the conscious creative mind in which they're creating their own reality and realize how much power they have. Okay? We got to take that out of that child. So as I was thinking to myself, the whole knowledge arena or subject area, library, when you get into computer science, information sciences, because that's Patty Broussard's domain, okay? And so I'll leave all that to one side, but the truth is that when you use computer learning with a child, and hooked up with artificial intelligence, if you will, that doesn't have any love, doesn't have any compassion, okay, and they're using all their left brain stuff. We looked at that and saw the bifurcation of the brain through computer learning. Okay? That's not good. You need a reintegration of that. Okay? So essentially what's happening is that you're using your state of consciousness in order to run a computer program. Okay? Instead of creating something of your own. Okay? So now the child's mind is held captive, and what happens is that becomes programming. And they become, if you will, the creative side is sort of in a dormant state, not being activated, not being used in the conscious creative mind. And so what happens is to the programming, it's just like the same way that people are addicted to cell phones. Okay? Once the notion of being, now that the technology's come out, now it's recorded in your memory that you're now using a cell phone, and now that becomes a way that you communicate because it's all created in your memory and upon a conscious memory upon which you are experiencing who you are through communication technology, which is what a cell phone is. Are you capable of being able to put that down and go out in nature and just communicate through your heart with the girl on the planet and everything that is in nature? And then you can experience the difference between the two. About what your mind is held captive to, what your mind is not held captive to, and how free is your spirit, truly.